send him to the police headquarters and probably he will have shown up. But these Gestapo type of tactics are the same pattern of choreography of intimidation leading into an election. They want to force Raila on the Kenyan public. They're intimidating governors, they're intimidating members of parliament, they're intimidating business people. There is a whole pattern of choreography of state-sponsored intimidation, now spiced up with violence, so that he can suppress the vote, because the UDA victory in the next election is a matter of time.
Let me ask you a question before Charles comes in. State-sponsored violence, state-sponsored acts. When members of UDA, you have the deputy party leader of Jubilee, the deputy president of the country, you have several members of parliament. In fact, they say a majority of Jubilee are in UDA. Where were they when there was a chance to reform the state to ensure that state-sponsored violence is no longer a possibility? Why now is UDA the shining light when a majority of UDA allied MPs had a chance in government to make a difference?
I don't think there is any law or anything that necessarily allows any party. Even at that time, there was nothing to reform. The only thing, what there is the law to be followed. There is a rule of law regime that just takes the goodwill of leaders and our demand of the Constitution for you to observe. So all these means are extrajudicial means. They are in excess of the Constitution. They're in excess of the rule of law. And yes, there was a time I even could recall some of the Tanga, one or two I remember in the blogs, would sometimes cheer some of these actions. I wouldn't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily defend that. But just because they cheered that action does not justify the repetition. And I'm happy some of them have transformed enough or redeemed enough in terms of realizing that it's part of their folly. I have seen public apologies from some of these people, like Murkomen telling Miguna, I am sorry, I supported your deputation, I now do want you back as a citizen of this republic. And people do undergo this process of redemption. Redemption is allowed by God, redemption must be allowed by politics.
Very interesting point there. Charles, go ahead. Now you.
I think this is very interesting. You know, Raila Odinga is not a member of the current government. I think your party leader and your party forms part of the current government. So I think it's unfair for the old man when you attack him and try to portray him to be part of the state. So I think if you have a problem with the state, you just face the state directly without mentioning.
You know you're a good friend.
No.
Do you live in this country? Really?
What I'm saying is,
do you live in this country?
I live in this country and I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, okay.
What I'm saying,
Raila calls himself Senegal.
Just a minute.
He calls himself Senegal.
And I was very quiet.
Okay, I'll listen
when
now.
he was speaking. What I'm saying, we need to face realities. Face the person that you think you have a problem with. Leave the old man alone. Because Raila is not a minister, he's not a president, he's not a deputy president. He's actually an opposition leader. He's not even in parliament. He's not even in there. So what I think is, you see, you are trying to draw Raila's name simply because you are competing. Your party and his party is competing. I think the best thing is to let us not incite the public. Let's wait and face one another in the ballot. I think that will be most important. But what I want to say is that it will be very fair that every Kenyan gets to understand that it's important that we have a very peaceful election, because life is not ending with the elections. And we have seen these things happen. You are friends today, tomorrow you are enemies. In politics, there's no permanent enmity and no permanent friendship. I am sure Hassan and I, despite the fact that we are friends, we are definitely going to be in different parties. But also, fortunately, we are going to run in different counties. Hassan and I, for the next 20 years, we may be deeply involved in the politics of this country until when we'll be in our 70s and we'll also be giving way for others. So I think the most important thing is not to incite the public. The most important thing is to look at the best ways in which we are going to run this country going forward. And most importantly, preach that we ensure that we have a very peaceful election. We have had problems in the past. You know the problems we had in 2007, 2008. You know what followed, going to The Hague and so on and so forth. So I think from my background, where I come from, I know Hassan is an agitator. His background is agitation. He has been a student leader. He has been involved in very hard politics. He has been with Raila Odinga. He's now with UDA. And I just want to request you, Hassan, that as we go forward, let us look at the best ways and means of bringing our country together, and more so the youths.
Are you surprised by his Damascus moment?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. He's an agitator, and I can't blame him for doing that, because that one falls within his rights, and it is also important. You know, opposition is very important, because you are going to be able to bring up issues that may be raised. But what I was against is trying to bring an individual's name that is actually not in government that you are talking about. He can be a friend. Yeah, he can be a friend to the president.
Yes.
But that does not mean that you need to directly attack him and say that he's the one perpetrating violence.
Okay.
But you can't